Hey guys, welcome back to Trekyards. It is top 10 time, and I'm ready. Samuel, are you ready to go?
I was born ready.
Born ready?
hmm
Or Borg ready? What is the topic of today's episode, Samuel?
Well, with that great introduction, it must only be one thing. Top 10 Borg ships. Now, you might think that's a little bit strange given how you might only be able to imagine one or two or three. But we're going to include some of the game stuff and, not just the ones on the screen, but sort of the still not canon, but the officially licensed Borg ships, if that makes sense. So there is a few more to pick
Yes, it
from.
does.
Yes. So, I'm interested. There might be a clear winner, there might not. It might be so radical, there might be some dodecahedron as the top, who knows. So, what is your top 5, Stuart?
Mm-hmm. Number 5 would have to be the Borg Turbine, which is the little spinny thing. I don't even know if it's a ship or if it's just some kind of weapons platform thing.
Is that from Legacy?
I'm not really sure, actually. It was on a big diagram of a bunch of Borg ships, and I just like it. It's one of the smaller ones, so I don't know if it's a scout ship or if it's some kind of probe vessel or something, but it's cool. Anyway, number 4 for me is the tactical sphere. So not just the regular sphere, but the tactical sphere is kind of armored up. Again, I don't know if it's actually from any specific games, but it is a cool looking thing, and it would make sense that they have the tactical cubes, so they would tactical up the spheres perhaps. So especially since the queen actually flies in one, so they should have an armored up one maybe for her. I don't know. Number 3 for me is the Borg Diamond, because it's cool to see a different shape other than just the standard Borg cubes and spheres that we see, and that's a very unique, cool looking ship, because it's kind of got, it's got holes in it basically. It's not all one solid structure, and it's cool to see it flying through space. That's all I have to say on this.
It's got a lot of bonus details, and it's all what's in it and how big is it, and yeah, it's one of those weird ones.
And number 2 for me is the tactical cube. The regular cubes are cool, but to, put armor plating on them and make them look like they're ready for battle, and actually, armor up some of those vulnerable systems.
Well, vulnerable. I mean, didn't they say in TNG you can lose like 75% of its power and it's still firing? It's like, oh, okay.
85%.
Wow, well, there you go.
But yeah, Picard said focus on one specific spot, and knock that system out, and then how many times does that happen where they pick out one system and it puts them to sleep or whatever? So,
but clearly that one encounter was an exception, because every other time they fight Borg cubes in the movie and Best of Both Worlds, everyone gets blown up. So clearly doesn't really work. Just saying.
Well, the Borg assimilated and realized that's a weak spot. And number 1 for me is one that I found in my research that I really love the looks of. It looks really cool. It's got some flashy bits in the middle. It's kind of like an armored up tactical cube even, and it's called the Hypercube. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
Well, I think there's been some Googling, and I see it. It looks like it's from mod for Nexus Stupid Instant. So I think a fan one, but you can see it in 3D. It's doing things, and it's interesting. Yeah. It looks like the cube from Portal. Looks like companion cube, but green.
Oh, there you go.
And a bajillion miles long.
But yeah, I think it's a nice addition to the Borg fleet, and it's something that's more appealing and eye-catching than just the standard Borg cube or tactical cube. So that's why it would have to be my number 1. Whether it exists or not, well, I don't know. But I found it, and thought I'd at least include it in my list.
And you kind of wonder what on earth its function is with all that stuff going on. Like, what are those big green things? Do you think they're like big laser generators or emitters or radiation emitters or...
Don't know.
Probably something... It's a hypercube after all. Something hyper devastating.
Yeah. Maybe travels through hyperspace. Ooh.
Transwarp was too slow for them. Okay, interesting list. You really went outside. I stuck a little bit closer to canon here, but I like your list.
Sorry.
No, it's good. My number 5 is the Diamond. It is an odd one, but I like its design, and the fact that it was the Queen's personal ship in several things was really cool, but still a bit odd to me. I loved using it in games though, because it had lots of special abilities. That was the big ability ship, so it could do nanoprobe spreads and really interesting things. But I think it's one of the ships that you would want to have known more about. Like, what exactly are its capabilities? Seriously, it's maybe this flagship or this enhanced ship, or it's small but not too small. Like, what can it do? You'd think the Borg, if you specialise that carefully on a single ship, and it's the main queen ship, then it should really have something going for it. So cool design, but I would like to know more details. That's what I think. And the CG model's cool because there's loads of bits and bobs. Number 5. Well, number 4 is just the sphere, because it is classic, simple, and cool, and it's just a fun, smaller Borg ship. Go on, a very classic Borg design. It's just a big...
Looks like a futuristic basketball.
Yes, it does. A little basketball. Very simple, but kind of cool. It's a sphere.
Nice.
Number 3 for me is the colony ship, as seen in Armada 2, because it's a cool geometric shape, very Borg, and it uses beam technology to send nanoprobes to a planet and cause mass assimilation. Super deadly. Well, okay, not deadly, the Borg don't actually kill, but super effective. Honestly, I felt a bit guilty whenever I used it in Armada 2, because you're literally assimilating entire planets really easily with beam. It just... yeah. Cool ship, though. I liked it.
My conscience. I never would have thought.
You can... In the cutscene at the start, you can Borgify an entire planet with like 6 of them in 30 seconds. That's like Alpha Quadrant destroying, assimilating tech. I mean, if that had been in the show...
I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that shit.
Yeah. My number 2 is the tactical Borg cube. Because what is better than a Borg cube? A cube with ablative armor that isn't just designed to assimilate races, but also survive against the toughest races that might provide resistance, like species A472. It's a kind of odd choice for the Borg, but I think it does actually make sense. And I would like to have seen more of these, because although sort of under/overpowered in Voyager, depending on how you consider the fight, it looked awesome, and how make a cube better? Absolutely, why not? And you've got to imagine there's more tech to this than we really see. It's not just armor, it's probably some other tech involved, some other shield emitters and just backup drives, and I'd love to see this in a fight with well, if this is going against Starfleet in First Contact, even harder to beat, but whatever. Cool. But that means I've got to put my 2.5 is the Borg cube, because it's not actually on my 5 list, but it's still a cool design. It's the iconic one. I just picked the tactical cube over it because it's a bit cooler, is all.
Yeah.
But my number 1, what is better than a Borg tactical cube? A tactical Borg fusion cube. It is the baddest of the bad, the kick-assiest of the kick-ass. 8 tactical fusion cubes combined into one almost unstoppable mass of pure green and black power. It was amazing in Armada 2, and if this ship had been sent instead of a standard cube at any of the battles, well, especially in First Contact, well, we wouldn't have many years to go until the world as we know it will be Borg, because they'd win. End of story. Big ship. I'd love to...
So why didn't they do that?
Story, plot, script.
Gotcha.
It's just a cool ship, and again, I think they made so much Borg sense to combine, because you're already making unstoppable creatures or ships. Why not just combine them? And then you've got... I mean, can you imagine well, what's bigger than 8? I don't know, 30 or whatever put together, and it's even bigger. That would be incredible. A very natural evolution, I think, for the Borg.
Yeah, and I think that happened after they assimilated some Starfleet people that were, had knowledge of Lego. So they thought, well, let's just plug these things together. Makes sense. The shapes work, right? Thank you, Lego.
Lego, you ruined the universe. You just didn't know it yet. But what is your honourable mention, Stuart?
Honorable mention for me is the Renegade 1. It's called the Renegade ship from, the lore story with the Borg. Very odd shape design, shape and design for the Borg, but very neat to look at. And I've mentioned it before, it's kind of a cool ship and one of my favorite alien ships. I believe it was in that top 10 as well. So just something strange and different, and a big departure from the standard geometric shapes that the Borg use. So that is my honorable mention.
And it is also mine. Hey. But I looked at it from the assimilator. It's called the assimilator in Armada 2, so that was how I called it. But yeah, Borg rogue ship. Like I say, it's weird and interesting and weird design. I'd love to know the backstory behind why they designed it, and it is going to be an Eagle Moss model soon, so I'm looking forward to reading that one in particular. It's just an interesting ship, that's why it's honorable mention. It's not, if you changed the colour scheme, it probably wouldn't have screamed Borg. It could have been any other race. But I think it's that, let's say Renegade built potentially by them, not mainstream Borg, so it's a shrouded in mystery vessel. But it's interesting. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, I think that's it for our top 10 lists.
Yes. Any surprises on mine, Stuart? But you sound like you thought my Tactical Fusion Cube would be the top.
Yeah, I did think that would be the top, but I didn't know if I should include it because is it one ship or is it multiple ships? So, I considered it for my number one for a little while, but I assumed it would be on your list, and I assumed it'd probably be number one. So, yeah, I kind of assumed that you'd stay more in canon. I really didn't. I just looked up Borg ships, and this was some of the first ones that popped up, and I thought they were cool, and they're kind of divergent for what we've seen. So, I kind of like that.
Yeah, this was an interesting top 10. I think when we said let's do it, it was more of a case of let's see what our fans think of this sort of episode, because how do you pick out of geometric shapes? But Stuart, you impressed me. You had some great designs. I'm sure fans will look at them and say, "Wow, I should go research what the hell that is," and then go buy or download the mods so they can then play these radically new and different ships. But yeah, awesome. That's it for this week's top 10 Borg ships. Hope you guys enjoyed our bit of Borgy fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it really. So we'll see you again next week for the top 10 and every other bit of content we produce every single week. So tune in, and until then, it's Kamal Coggins.
And Captain Foley, as always.
And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.